I want to show you guys a clip from somebody who is a revolutionary, somebody that Jen and I support wholeheartedly. Revolutionary Change PAC, if you guys are not aware. This is a person who does get it. And that, of course, is Butch Ware.
Mamdani has a great future, but the Democratic Party does not. Sure. I mean, this is still a party that's complicit in genocide. Running as a democratic socialist is different than running, under the Team Blue banner. But we have seen folks that come out of, DSA or Working Families Party, start drinking that blue Kool-Aid and, start compromising with the corporate wing of the party. Yeah. So I know, just because I know his pedigree and I have people that vouch for his character inside the community, that the brother has been about the right things and understands the right things. And I made, posts supporting him before the election, and I'm standing 10 toes down with him. At the same time, we need to hold him accountable. Sure. Because the last thing that we need is somebody in our community to go that AOC route.
No, Nick, please.
Yeah, I'm worried that Zohran Mamdani has the potential of being a tranquilizing drug for the left. And I would never attack anyone in New York who is desperate because the cost of living is insane and people are desperate to find an opportunity to fix this problem. But Mamdani is not giving us health care. He's not giving us universal health care. He's not freeing Palestine. He's not increasing the national minimum wage. It's a local movement, and I hope the great success. I'm very pessimistic about his chances, but we can't use that as a way to organize within this party that is a dead end. It's a dead end for movements. And I think the Democratic Party could be completely off the table after what they did in Gaza. Like, to me, like it's Nazi behavior. Like, you had Democratic senators that openly, like John Fetterman, saying that we should kill them all. Like, will you organize with a Nazi party just to increase the minimum wage? Like, that's how I personally view it. I am more of a believer of us forming our own outside governments. We can use like big moments like these as a narrative win, like against the Zionists and the capitalist class. Yes. But I want people to maintain their focus and maintain the fact that we got to take care of our neighbors, build our power outside the system. And Mamdani, like he said before, his main priority is to save the Democratic Party. I don't think that's a long-term feasible plan for the working class. But I do wish them best success in organizing wins for the working class. I just think we need to keep our head on a swivel and not allow this to be a tranquilizing drug, because that's just one city, and their battle is just beginning. The same way that we got to get in the game and we got to start becoming serious about building our power as socialists. But Butch Ware, I like Butch. He did a great job explaining his position here.
And Jay, you're in Orlando, so you're where the next Zohran Mamdani, ironically enough, is going to appear in the next year. And that, of course, is Anna Eskamani, who is running for mayor of Orlando. And she is going to have the same opportunity to basically become that person in a city that desperately needs. Again, Orlando is not New York, but there's a lot of similarities in terms of cost of living in Orlando. The fact that there is a corporate, kind of like almost like a condor that sits over the city, that of course being Disney. There's a lot of these problems that are going to continue to surface. And what I think is going to be very telling is Zohran is going to get pushed back immediately from Hochul and Albany. They're going to say, oh, no, you're not raising taxes on Manhattan residents by 2% or the greater New York City area by 2%. And then the question is going to be, is he going to be a capitulator or is he going to be a revolutionary? And it's going to happen fast. And people should be ready. Is he going to be on the side of the people? Because they're already saying, listen, we've been through Bernie, we've been through Obama, we've been through AOC. We already know we know what the signs are. We know if he's going to capitulate or not. So if he's going to, we're going to be on his ass. And then the question becomes, what direction is he going to go in?
He already showed the signs, unfortunately, where he apologized to the NYPD. He's allowing a diehard Zionist to stay on the NYPD. What I see unfortunately happening,
Problem.
and I'm not trying to be a buzzkill. There are too many people being cheerleaders on the left instead of trying to move them to their position. So when it was clear that Zohran was going to win, what did the capitalists and the Zionists and the landlords do immediately? They immediately reached out, pushed him, and advocated for him to shift to the center, which he did on policing, like he did when it comes to condemning the Palestinian resistance. So while the center was pushing Zohran, the left became cheerleaders, and that enabled him to already waffle on very big issues. But I know, Jay, I don't know if you was about to chime. I didn't mean to cut you off, brother. Do you want to chime in as well?
So, on one hand, yes, absolutely. It feels like he's capitulating and moving towards making them more comfortable, which I say you shouldn't. At the same time, with the people who are in New York, they just want their rent to be frozen. They just want free buses. And unfortunately, the need for self-preservation is that high that they are willing to settle for somebody who is just going to make their lives at least minusculely better materially.
I mean, what was their option? What was their option?
Yeah. Well, and that's part of the fault of the third parties in New York, right? Because the third parties in New York didn't put up somebody who was further to the left that could have pushed Mamdani in the correct direction. And so I put some of that on them. But at the same time, it's also they lack the funding in order to be able to do that. But it's up to activists. And the problem is that a lot of activists will see somebody like a Zohran Mamdani and they will fall asleep thinking, okay, he got it. We did our job. And that's why I say no. Even when we have a revolution and change this country fundamentally, you still stay on their ass no matter what. Because the problem is that the counter-revolutionaries will keep coming at the gate. So Zohran Mamdani is not radical at all. He is not nowhere near revolutionary. But the thing is that the people who are, like, for instance, you mentioned Anna Askamani. If she were to run something like that here in Orlando, of course, there will be mutual aid groups that will be on her like crazy and will be a thorn in her side every single chance they get. Yeah. And on top of that, not just that, but it's like we should continue the quest to build dual power because revolution really is the only solution. And we're not going to be lulled back into sleep like they were back when FDR was president into thinking, oh, well, I guess we can still give capitalism a chance. No, there's no bridling this horse. This horse needs to be put down. OK, but at the same time, we need to have another horse ready before we put that horse down, because then it leads into a vacuum. So use this opportunity to build dual power while this person is just a little bit easier on us, but do revolutionary action and continue to build dual power, do mutual aid. Because a lot of times people are going to think, oh, well, we just need to fall asleep. It's like, no, it's like the storm is calmer right now. Okay, use that time to build even harder, to build even faster, because you know that a bigger storm is going to be coming behind that.
I would definitely say the best thing you could say about Zohran, maybe more than anything else, is that if New York and other places get more and more revolutionary, he's much less likely to stand in the way of it. He'd be like, look, this is what the people want. They're going to do what they're going to do. Certainly more so than a Cuomo or an Adams type. And so I would say that in itself is a victory. But Mr. Ware has a few more things to say. So let's finish out and then we will continue.
I tabbed her, AOC Pelosi. She's the new Nancy Pelosi. She came out as somebody that was very much about, progressive emancipatory politics. But as soon as that fame and that money hit, and as soon as that, the Democratic, hierarchy and oligarchy hit, she has sold out consistently. Mm-hmm. And I have said about their oligarchy tour to Bernie Sanders and AOC Pelosi, I call it the Zionist BS, that this is a really traditional sheepdog mechanism of the Democrats. Every time the party is in shambles because their base is rejecting the genocidal corporate politics that ignores the needs of the people. They bring some progressives out to try to get the base motivated just so that they don't leave and go third party. That's what I mean when I say we don't need a Muslim AOC.
Right.
Yeah. I wanted to say something about what you said before, Nick, about, I forget how you said it about Zohran, like sort of like a false idol situation. I don't know exactly how you phrase it. Like
and drug, something like that.
Yeah. And I think that that's really true. And I think it's because people are very uncomfortable, right? And it's starting to reach higher levels. The higher ups are starting to feel uncomfortable, and they don't like to feel uncomfortable. And the quickest, easiest solution is we'll just vote for the right person. We'll just vote for the right person. And then it'll be good. Like that's our job. We're the voters, and we'll vote, and then it'll be good. And I think that it is so much more comfortable for them to feel like that than to face what is reality, which is you're not voting our way out of this. This is not going to go. The only direction this is going is the implosion of capitalism. It's the only way this is going. Now, how that goes and what it looks like, I don't know, but there's no coming back. And it doesn't matter who they vote for. It doesn't really matter at all.
Yeah, and one of the reasons why I want people to stay active and don't use Mamdani as a tranquilizing drug is because I personally think he's overpromising to his constituent in order to win the election. Because what is your mechanisms to achieve these gains for the working class? Because you need to engage in class warfare. You can't substitute class warfare with electoral bourgeoisie, electoral backroom deals. So are you going to mobilize the workers in order to accomplish your agenda? Or are you going to make backroom deals? Now, we already seen that Zohran is more willing to make backroom deals, because something that was woefully undercovered, I covered it, how Zohran met with landlords and said he's not going to do anything to disrupt their business model because he was reassuring the landlords. That shows me that his strategy to affect change is not mobilizing a working class to put pressure on the capitalist class by waging class warfare. It's by making backroom deals. It's the same AOC strategy of, hey, y'all, shut up and trust the plan. I'm going to talk to the capitalist class behind the scene and I promise you they're going to give us what we're asking for. That is not how it's going to work. So I'm not trying to just be a negative Nancy. It's a simple science on how you are planning to affect change in the back room, wheeling and dealing, the sacrificing on your issues instead of being a leader. It's a very big, it's a red sign. For example, when you saying that Cuba and Venezuela are dictatorships, what is he doing there? He conceding to the empire. Yeah. It's the devil's bargain, which made me quit the DSA social democrat movement in the first place. The devil's bargain that they make is they will justify and legitimize imperialist talking points in order to get crumbs from the establishment. So instead of being a leader and explaining clearly why the left should reject imperialist language about Cuba, about why they're wrong about Venezuela, why they're wrong about the Cuban system, instead of being a leader and leading the working class to the right position, he's already conceding. Now, that's just a sign to me. Like I wasn't negative on Zohran just to be negative. I see these negative signs, and I'm like, man, that's a red flag. And my job as a citizen journalist, whether I'm right or wrong, is to let the working class know what the positive, what the pros, and what the cons on Zohran is. And unfortunately, a lot of people focus way too much on the cons while ignoring these very horrific. They focus on the pros while ignoring the cons. Like for the fact that he's taking billionaire money. He took money from Liz Simmons, a diehard Zionist. And now people wonder why he allowing the Zionists to leave the NYPD. So if you're a Zohran supporter, and there are a lot of people who get defensive around me because they feel like they have to justify their vote to me. Like, you don't have to justify your vote to me, man. I'm just doing my due diligence. But you need to take this information and be squared-eyed about what you need to do to hold this man accountable that you support. You don't have to apologize to your vote to me. You don't have to explain it to me. I just want you to understand what the mission is at stake. So sorry for the rant.
Yeah, no, I agree. I agree with what you're saying. And I completely, and I don't, first of all, nothing, and we've talked about this the other day, nothing that he's proposing is remotely socialist. Nothing is remotely socialist.
Very
Like,
well
it's
said.
so ridiculous that everybody somehow thinks that social programs is socialism. And I'm like, it's not even within the same sphere. But my thought about him was, I've had red flags ever since he took Cuomo's comms director. I thought that was very interesting when he was campaigning, that he took, and not just Cuomo's comms director, but I think that he had also worked for, was it Obama or somebody like that? Like, this was a comms director from those people. And so then that's who's working with him. So that was a red flag. The fact that he's still engaged with the Zionists and somehow think that that's a compromise, I agree. That's like saying, we're just going to invite the Nazis to this one meeting. We're going to invite them to this one meeting. We're just going to listen to what they have to say and, whatever. But yeah, it's absurd. So there's definitely red flags. However, if he is able to even get them to have a subsidized supermarket and have one in each borough, or do something that gives a certain amount of free transit, or anything that can help make somebody's lives better, then that's good. And I also don't think that he would be somebody to overfund police. I don't think he is somebody who is going to go out of his, I don't see him as a stop and frisk guy. So I think that is a little bit more hopeful to me. But yeah, they're calling him ridiculous. He's a socialist, he's a communist. I haven't heard him say one thing that was socialist.
Well, this is, again, the whole political landscape today, where everybody's a communist or a fascist. There is no conversation. It's all about, how do we divide and conquer? That's the whole point. And one thing I will say about Zohran that I do believe he will be better at, especially better than AOC. I actually think he has real leadership qualities, and I think he's actually willing to be radical. Now, how far he's willing to take that is going to be determined over time. I think that he may be a lot more shrewd than we're giving him credit. I don't think he's going to be one of those guys that's going to come in and clean house right away. But I could also see a situation where things are going to change over the next year plus. But I think if he's able to get, which I think will be his top priority, if he's able to get the government control price grocery stores, one in each borough, that's going to be a game changer. Because I do think that that's something that is going to help with things like mutual aid around the country. People are going to be able to point to that and say, well, explain to me how that Greek billionaire who goes on with Sid Zionazi Rosenberg on AM radio, who's worth $4 billion because he price gouges and underpays his employees, complaining about this commie that's coming to take over New York. Yet you charge for a dozen eggs, $12, and you have this government price-controlled grocery store that's charging $3 for a dozen eggs. Now we have a real problem on our hands, because now the system is figuring out a way to try to balance itself. The fear that I have, which I think is the biggest concern, is that the Democratic Party did everything it could, and it failed to stop him. But now that he is elected, these are the type of ads that the DNC is throwing out.
Logging you out like a lullaby. Hear that song in your mind. Better sit down for the show, 'cause I'm gonna show you how to
So let's get
anything about him, even as moderate as Zohran could be, nothing about him remotely would equate to these other people.
Isn't that the CIA lady? That's the lady directly from the CIA.
Yes.
You've got the military scandal-ridden, because my state of New Jersey, all of it is scandal-ridden. That's the only way you can get in politics, is be part of the New Jersey Democratic Party machine. So that's Sherelle. You have the CIA agent in Spangberger, right in the middle, who's in Virginia. And then, of course, you have Zohran, who I am sure wants nothing to do with these people.
Exactly.
But, of course, they're going to use him for fundraising purposes. And little Buttigieg putting out his stupid congratulatory post acknowledging these two ladies, but didn't say a word about Zohran. So, of course, yes, Zohran is definitely different. However, he's going to have to make a decision. Did you use the Democratic Party strictly to get elected, or are you going to become one of them? That's what you're going to, and that is going to be found out very quickly, because they don't want you. They want you to raise money for them. That they're going to be on your ass about, and that's why they're going to use you in these advertisements, suggesting that, hey, look at the future of the Democratic Party. We don't want his policies. We just want his money.